Hi everyone, I'm Henry Gordon Smith from Agritecture, and I'm here in Huron, Ohio to meet Bob Jones, CEO of the Chef's Garden. How are you doing, Bob?
Doing great. Thanks for coming, Henry.
I'm so happy to be here. It's been really inspiring to learn about your farm, to meet your team. And the key thing that I'm really interested in is how you're combining regenerative agriculture with some high technologies. But before we get into that, can you give us the origin story of the Chef's Garden?
The Chef's Garden is a family business. My brother Lee and myself and an amazing team of people that we've gathered over the last 40 years. Our team is our greatest asset. And we have been very fortunate to work alongside some amazing culinarians over the years who have really taught us about the food business. Most farmers today, unfortunately, don't understand the food business because they don't have a direct connection to the end user. That valuable customer feedback on a direct one-to-one basis is always important. It's just not always fun. Because if we screw it up, they're going to tell us and demand that we fix it, and we do that to the very best of our ability. Having those relationships with chefs, and I really think this is the key to who we've become, is understanding our customers, understanding their expectations of us, and then doing everything we can possibly do to meet and exceed those expectations.
Huge opportunities in targeting chefs and getting additional value for your product, right? They will pay for quality. But as you mentioned, so many challenges in having variety of crops in your farm, in actually achieving that quality from an operational basis. And all of those things are really difficult, but it sounds like you found the right fit on how to do that at the Chef's Garden.
Well, Henry, we certainly do not claim to have this all figured out.
It's an ongoing journey, I'm sure, right?
Absolutely. We learn from our mistakes. We just have to make mistakes at a faster rate than our competitors.
One of the things that interests me a lot about the Chef's Garden story is that it wasn't always this way. Before you moved into regenerative practices, you actually had a conventional farm, so to say, that was producing for yield versus quality. What happened in the history that shifted that?
Well, we talk a lot about American agriculture specifically, because that's what we have the most experience with. That agriculture in our country is broken both economically and agronomically. And we are a living proof of that. We survived that, but we now direct market everything we grow because we want to manage the quality. So the product that you've seen harvested today will be on a plate tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So having that direct relationship, going a direct sale is part of that. The other part of it is regenerative agriculture. When you start to understand what's happening in the plant and in the soil and the microbiome around the root, and you get soils healthier and healthier and healthier, you actually need less inputs. So it's not just a fancy buzzword for sustainability. There is increase in profitability by decreasing the amounts of inputs that you actually need. The healthier the plant is, the less disease and insect problem you're going to have. So regenerative is one of those things that positively impacts almost everything that we do and then flows through to the benefit of the customer in the end.
I love that. You're describing a harmony with the land, with the soil, with the microbes, with nature that's going to improve your bottom line as well in the long term, as long as you make that investment. There's a lot of talk about regenerative agriculture these days and its investability as long as you can push through those first few years where you're going through this challenge and learning. I want to talk about your crops. So what are you growing? What's the range? And who are you growing for? You mentioned chefs, but where are they?
Well, we are growing a little over 600 different edible plant varieties. That's everything from microgreens, edible flowers, fresh herbs, garden vegetables. We're working today with restaurant chefs in all 50 states and 17 countries. We're also sending to homeowners direct from the farm to the back door of the house at the kitchen. Send anybody who's culinarily curious or is on a health journey and wants true nutrient-dense food. We're working with clients like that literally all over the country.
That's incredible. And that shift to consumers as well, that happened with the pandemic, I assume, because maybe there were some issues with restaurants, you had to diversify. How was that transition? I'm curious.
Well, certainly COVID changed a lot of things for all of us. We just don't do things. There's a new normal. We're not going back to the way things used to be. but growing these crops specifically for chefs worked really well for us until they all closed during COVID.
Yeah.
And so we had an amazing team of people. We had a lot of product because we plant 360 days of the year. We're just continually planting. So we had product coming in. We were all convinced, like everybody else, COVID was going to be done in about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? And it took 2 years, and some things still won't go back that way. But that's really what kind of forced our hand into finding an outlet for our product, going to the home consumer, going into the corporate model. Some of our boxes of fresh vegetables are now used as an HR benefit for corporations. Give the gift of health.
I love that.
HR is such a competitive arena right now.
Right.
So how do you recruit, attract, and maintain or retain key people? You do that by taking good care of them and giving them benefits that they couldn't get just anywhere.
Incredible. So we've learned more about your crops, your approach with regenerative agriculture. But let's talk a little bit about technology, because you actually have multiple greenhouses across your property. Some of them are growing in ground. Some of them are on trays like this one that we're in here. And you've selected Sollum LEDs as your lighting partner. We can see the lights here. Can you tell us about that journey to select LED technology and work with Sollum?
Sure. Because we're selling to restaurants, they demand product 12 months of the year. Interestingly enough, as an outdoor vegetable farm in northern Ohio, the 3 busiest times of the year are December, then around Valentine's Day and Mother's Day. All 3 times of the year where we're not real flush outside with fresh garden vegetables. Right. So we've had to grow inside. We have been growing 52 weeks of the year, harvesting 52 weeks of the year for over 20 years now. In order to do that, you must have supplemental lighting. So our journey included looking at every kind of lighting technology that we could possibly find. We trialed HPS, we trialed metal halide, we trialed single source LEDs, we tried dynamic LED, we've even trialed strobe and combinations of LED and strobe. This Sollum fixture is the ones that gave us the very best results and continue to do so because of their dynamic nature. We can change, if we happen to change the crop, we don't have to change the fixture. We can adjust the fixture to the crop that we're growing to get the right DLI, the right spectrum, the right intensity, the right duration to grow the crop using the plant as the meter. The plant is the very best light meter that we've ever found.
And that's your product. And with so much variety of product, the demand for 12 months a year production from your chefs, quality, it makes sense that you would need a dynamic light where you can have different recipes and control that. So what are some of the results from a yield perspective or an energy savings perspective that you've seen with the Sollum lights?
Well, the Sollum lights really kind of dovetailed in with our sustainability programs and initiatives to lower our energy spend. So that was a big part of it, but also to improve the quality of the plant that is an end result of the growing system. So marrying regenerative techniques with the newest technology that we can possibly find, and then that just takes it to another level. I liken it to what the chefs used to tell us. 25, 30 years ago, we started hearing about flavor profiling and how chefs would pair an entree with a wine,
right,
and 1 + 1 was 4. We're finding the exact same things with these lights in that we're getting increased yield, we're getting increased quality, and we can grow all throughout the year. We used to have a tremendous variability, spring, winter, fall, summer, and the quality would change, the yield would change, and this has really flattened that curve out and raised the curve.
Yeah, you mentioned that you're increasing some of the yields, sometimes 30%, and that moving from HPS to LED saved you about 40% in energy. But again, that's not your point. Your point is the quality matters. Above all, that's what you've been saying, is that what the chefs eat, what they taste, what the consumers at home get from the chef's garden, that's the meter, right?
Right. It really wasn't. The energy savings was not our driving force.
Right.
The driving force was a consistent supply of high quality product for our customers. The energy savings we knew would be there. We weren't sure how much. It's almost been an unintended consequence that just helps, because maintaining our costs and doing things efficiently is still a big positive impact for our customers.
Right. And so a lot of people might be anxious, or growers might be anxious about getting dynamic lighting. I mean, these dynamic lights from Sollum, they respond to the sun. They seem very high tech. They don't know what recipes that the farmer doesn't know what recipes to develop. What's your message to growers that are maybe considering dynamic lighting, but don't know if it's worth it, you know, and from an operational perspective, or maybe the engagement with Sollum itself?
I think probably the single most important thing that I could convey is the idea of context. Every different enterprise, every different farming operation has their own unique set of circumstances and the context that applies to their operation. Start small. We are huge fans of the crawl, walk, run model. So we started out very, very small with 2 fixtures. And then our first commercial application had about 120 fixtures. Then our next installation was 500 fixtures, and our next one was 800 fixtures. So we've worked our way up through the process. Sollum has been very, very helpful along the way. Their agronomists have been very helpful in us, especially with, I think they saw us as a challenge, but they really liked it because of the variability of the crops that we grow. We're not just growing tomatoes or cucumbers or strawberries. We have 600 different crops that we're trying to grow. It's both the good news and the bad news.
And how do your growers interact with the technology? Do they use Sollum's Sun as a Service cloud platform? And what does that look like on a typical basis?
We will not install a light and let a grower manage it on their own, just because that would be doing the grower a disservice, right? You have this tremendous resource there, and the system, the dynamic portion of the system, you set the parameters and the system kind of guides it. We used to run supplemental lighting by the hour. How many hours does the crop need? It's all managed by DLI, and the system manages that and then balances out whatever we're not getting naturally with the fixtures. And so even on a bright sunny day, if the clouds come in, the lights will come on. Clouds go away, the lights go off. But the plant gets a much more uniform supply of light instead of going up and down all the time.
Yeah, I really love that. I mean, it sounds like the lights are practicing biomimicry. They're sort of mimicking the sun different times of the day. They're complementing what you're doing here with nature, with regenerative agriculture. And that's incredible. I think it's a credible match made in heaven. And thank you so much, Bob, for your time and sharing your experience with Sollum Technologies, as well about your farm overall. I invite all of you to learn about the Chef's Garden online. You can get their amazing product at home. Last night, I got to have one of their garden salads with incredible varieties. So check that out. See if you want to bring that home to get your chef skills up to speed. And of course, you can learn about Sollum Technologies online as well. Thank you so much, Bob, for your time and for the swag.
Thanks, Henry.